Welcome to Corks and Conversation with Alan Orloff.
Yes, we're starting off our Manuary with an author I first saw in a panel at Thriller Fest in 2019, and I think it was 2019, and we just started our Corks and Conversations, our episodes then. So I was thinking about stuff, and I was like, he would be perfect because he had a great story about Sleuth Fest, and yeah, so it's come around now a couple years later and
Yeah,
we've
here
got
we
him
are.
on.
I remember you
Yeah.
saying that, Christy. I do. Um, we will have to talk to him about the Sleuth Fest story because, we love all things Sleuth Fest. But before we do, let's not jump the gun. We want to get into a little more about Alan, our guest today. Alan Orloff has won two ITW Thriller Awards. Very impressive. One for his novel, Pray for the Innocent, and one for his short story, Rent Due. He's also won a Derringer Award for his short story, Dine in Dokesville, and has had novels shortlisted for the Agatha Award and Shamus Award, as well as a story selected for the Best American Mystery Stories. All very impressive.
Yep.
He's published 10 books, including his latest, and I have one, and Christy has one, which we're talking about today. I Play One on TV, which, by the way, is that not the best title? I love that title. Um, and this is a young adult thriller right up Christie's alley. He also has another latest called I Know Where You Sleep, which is an adult thriller with a PI character as his main protagonist. Both are from Down and Out Books. And he is currently the chapter president of the Florida chapter of the Mystery Writers of America, which is very cool. So, Alan, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I am looking forward to our little chat today.
Yeah,
Us
it's
too.
fun. Of course, before we get started, we always like to mention what wine we're drinking.
Yes.
And so Alan had a good idea that said just drink whatever's left over from New Year's because it hasn't been that long since New Year's. As you can see, I still have some of my Christmas decorations up, but yeah. So I don't know, Kathy, what are you drinking?
So I am drinking a leftover, but from the holidays, it was a boxed wine, Boda box, in an
Oh
actual
yeah.
box. But this is their Boda Box Breeze line, which is kind of new to me. And it's a red blend, but it's a lower calorie, lower alcohol content, lower carbs. So just a little bit lighter footprint. And I thought over the holidays, that might be wise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's really nice. It's a really nice red blend.
And I
That's what
went
I
all
have.
out with de-alcoholized.
Yeah, I've never heard of this before.
It's called Secco. This is St. Regis, and it's de-alcoholized. So what
So
it
like,
is it goes through the whole vintner process, and then they take the alcohol out. So it's
like
supposed to taste
decaffeinated
better.
coffee or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
So it's supposed to taste better than bubbled grape juice.
Speaking of bubble grape juice, that's what I had. I think mine's it's a 2021, I think.
Oh, okay.
Late 2021.
Well,
So
regardless, cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
cheers. It actually tastes pretty good. Mine does anyway.
Not
I,
bad.
I I had never heard of de-alcoholized wine. I just thought there was, the sparkling grape
I
juice. I
hadn't
didn't even know it was
either,
a
but when
thing.
I was researching it, so this one is fruit notes, including nutmeg, and then includes nutmeg and delicate white flowers.
Nutmeg. Hmm.
Mine just smells like sweet. It's good. I have a sweet tooth. I don't have much of a taste for alcohol. We cook with some wine, so I had some leftover port and Madeira and stuff, but
That's really sweet to
Yeah.
drink.
Yeah.
Good for the food.
Yep.
Well, I'm super excited to dive into all things Alan Orloff today for Manuary. And I want to start talking about this latest book. I Play One on TV. And I want to tell everybody a little bit about it. It follows a 16-year-old actor, which I just love. His name is Dalton Black, which is a really good name, I think, for a young actor, actually.
Hmm.
And he's playing a teen killer on a true crime show, which is, I just love the whole concept. And he gets caught up trying to solve the crime himself, because, of course, as it would, someone he starts getting socked by one of the characters, I guess, in the true crime story in the original murder. And it's a great page turner. It's got really good cast of characters, a great premise. And so I want to ask you about where the premise came from. I'm really curious about the title.
Sure,
Tell us where
sure.
this all came from.
Well, it came from an email I got,
Oh,
believe it or not. So that's a great idea for all you writers out there. If you get an email that says it's a great story idea in the subject line, open it up. Pay attention to that. I got an email from my then agent, Eric Smith, who's a big YA agent. He's now a YA author. He's done great stuff. He's got a book coming out that he wrote with Alanis Morissette called Jagged Little Pill or something. No, that's what it's called. It's some kind of novelization of the story of the song. I don't know. Anyway, really cool.
That's
so
cool.
he sent me this email and it said something to the effect of, Alan, my wife and I, we watch these crime reenactment shows on cable, on channels like Investigation Discovery. Wouldn't it be great if we had if you're a teenage thespian portrayed a young murderer on one of these shows, and then the murderer gets out of prison and stalks this guy down, stalks him down, hunts him down. And I'm like, well, that is a fabulous, fabulous premise. But what my agent did not know at the time was that I am a father. I was a father of a teenage actor.
Oh, really?
Who portrayed a murderer as a young boy on a crime reenactment show on Investigation Discovery.
No way.
My son is an actor, and he played a skinhead murderer on one of these, on Investigation Discovery. It's called Evil Kin was the name of the show, on one of those episodes. And it was perfect because I did not have to do any research. I lived it.
I was wondering how you knew all the ins and outs. I mean, wow.
Yeah. So it was great. I mean, it was really cool. And so just the fact that my son is an actor and went to all these auditions when he was a teenager, he couldn't drive. He wasn't old enough. So either my wife or I had to drive him to his auditions, and we had to stick around because he was under 16 or 18. So I got to see how all these auditions worked. I got to see how all these young actors were in the waiting room, doing their lines, and they all looked, you could tell. And I wrote about this in the book. You'd walk into the casting director's office, and there would be distinct groups of people, like 5 people for this, 5 people look like that, 5 people look for that, all going for the part that,
That's so surreal.
It's crazy. It is crazy. It's really cool. I mean, but it was so interesting. I'm like, well, this is perfect. So I tried to recall all those experiences that we had, doing that and find places for them in the book. And as for the title, there's that old commercial where I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. Yes. I'm like, well, he's not a murderer, but he plays one on TV. So I thought that'd be
that is really title. Good.
Yeah.
And Dan and Ed, I thought, did a great job with the cover too.
Oh, I like it.
Nice and creepy.
It's super creepy.
Yeah.
The first maybe chapter or two, I kept thinking about, and I might be wrong on which horror movie this is, but is it the Scream franchise where they're kind of making a movie about a horror, about a killing on Halloween? It just reminded me of all these teenagers kind of, it's kind of a movie within a movie or a story within a story. And it's creepy.
Yeah.
In the best way.
Yes. Was this the first young adult book that you've written, or do you?
It's the first one that got published. Huh? So I have two. Well, I've written 2 other ones. One of those other ones, I aged up the protagonist easily enough, so that's now an adult book. But I still have a YA book sitting on my hard drive, waiting for me to do something with. It's more of a coming of age story, and it's not like a crime fiction. So it's a little bit outside of my normal environs. So I don't know quite what to do with it.
But well, someday. Yeah.
Did that book precede this book? The other YA?
I wrote those other 2 first before this one.
So what prompted the idea to switch genres or
Back and
age
forth.
groups?
Yeah, my agents have not liked the fact that I keep bopping around. It's not great for building an audience. But when I was, I mean, like I'm sure everybody here, we all read as kids and as teenagers and so on. And when I went to the library, it didn't seem to me as much genre divided as it is now. I would just go looking for a good book. So some of the books I read were crime fiction. Some would be just science fiction or horror or just regular old good books. So in my mind, if I get an idea that I want to pursue, and this was true earlier, I think, in my writing career, I would just sort of write it. Now I've realized that the market does have a bearing on things. So I'm trying to stick to just writing, thrillers and crime fiction stuff.
Except for when the perfect premise lands in your inbox.
In your mailbox. Yeah. Of course, that's a YA thriller. So it's not.
It's still a thriller.
It's still a thriller. It wasn't too far afield. I think adults, the adults that have read it have enjoyed it. So I don't think it's.
Right.
I don't think it's,
we enjoyed it.
Only for YA readers.
No.
But I think, if we have listeners out there, it also is a good book for, and especially, teen boys and stuff, because it's always hard to find books that they really want to read. And so this one, with it having a male protagonist and kind of talking about the things they like, which is TV and whatever, or maybe it's not TV anymore, maybe it's YouTube, but same difference. But and
there's not quite as much angst in my book, I don't think, as in maybe some of your more typical YA books. And I thought maybe that might appeal to, like you said, more of the male readers.
Right. Right. Because there are different areas. What I found interesting too is the fact that Dalton is, and he's the main guy, he is more worried about what his parents are going to do and whether or not he's going to keep his acting career than he is about getting killed by a stalker. And it makes me think, it's so funny how the motivations, you always have to have a motivation or you're going to lose the readers, but YA often has a much different motivation.
Well, that's totally realistic. Again, as a parent of a teenage actor who was a teenager, it was crazy what we would do. I lived outside of DC, right? And Baltimore, for some reason, had some casting opportunities. They were filming House of Cards and Veep, and they filmed them in Baltimore. So they would have audition calls, and if you wanted to audition, you'd have to drive to Baltimore. So we'd have to brave the Washington Beltway and then brave the Baltimore Beltway.
Oh my gosh.
And so it might take an hour, 45 minutes for us to go to an audition in Baltimore. But being the good stage parents that we were, we would say, all right, we'll do it. So we would drive them up there. They would, we'd wait around for his appointment time because we had to get there early, couldn't be late. And then they'd call him into the audition and they might take one look at him and say, oh, yeah, you're not the right look. Next, thanks for coming. And he wouldn't even get to say his, 3 minutes of prepared material because commercials especially are so dependent on the look. Like if you're casting for a family, like you have like a kid and a family in a commercial, you have to your look has to be like the parents. And sometimes they can't tell just from a headshot. So if you get there, you could be gone in like 3 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And then it's another hour and a half in the car. So you've spent 3 hours of your day for a 3-minute interview. So
good quality family
You're
time.
You're a really good dad.
It's a pretty harsh. Well, I made him watch the Cars for a month. So it evened out.
Evened out, right?
That's really funny.
So let's see. Are we ready for the question in the
I
bottle?
think we are. I think it's time. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail
that's okay.
the smoothness of the operation.
No, you're good.
we just had a little break, kind of.
Okay.
So we're getting back in the swing of things.
We're a little rusty maybe. So we always listen to me about midway. We do the question in the bottle, and it's just a random question that might come up if you get towards the bottom of a bottle. And if you don't like it, just say pass and Christy will find you a new one. Although no one has passed, just saying, ever.
Pressure.
Yeah, there is pressure. No, this is a good one. Who would you swap lives with for a day?
Wow. Okay,
Wow.
just for a day. So I'm not
Just
giving
for a
up
day.
anything.
Yeah,
Just
so
for a
you
day.
don't have to like,
It's pretty light commitment.
I would say I would like to swap with Stephen King. Let's keep it in the
Oh, that's a
literary.
good one.
Keep it in the literary thing. I think I could take maybe 24 hours in his brain, and then I would have to get out.
Right.
I had the pleasure of hearing him speak once at an event, and he was so cool. He just just seems like a great guy. And friends of mine drove him around, picked him at the airport. It was an author event, so they drove him around,
Oh,
and they talked with him, and he seemed so personal, down to earth, according to what they said. And he's got. I mean, I'm a big Stephen King fan. Always have been.
Me too. Yeah.
I think his writing is great, and so I think I would brave 24 hours in his.
that's a really good
I
answer.
think so.
Did you read
Yeah.
his latest, Billy Sumner's?
Yeah, it was good.
Summer.
That's good. I
Did I
enjoyed
say
it.
Sumner? Summer.
Billy Summers.
Yeah.
Summers, yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good.
We did that on our podcast.
Yeah, we did talk about
Oh,
that.
yeah,
We
okay.
talked about it.
Yeah,
It
we
was
didn't
good.
talk to him, but it was
We didn't-
great.
Yeah. we
That's a
didn't
great
talk-
answer. Christy, who
But-
would you swap for 24 hours? I'm curious.
I don't know. That was a hard one. Like the first thing that came to my head was Michelle Obama, but I was like, I don't
That'd be
know
good.
why. I
That's-
just think
yeah.
it would be really cool
That'd be good,
to
huh?
be hanging out with Barack Obama. I don't know. But
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Kathy, you have to answer.
The first thing that popped in my mind was Ina Garten. She's my favorite cook and chef.
Yeah, you know what? That's a smart
Well,
thing because
you'd eat well for a day.
You'd
Yeah.
eat well, and her house in the Hamptons is beautiful, and I just think I'd enjoy being in that space.
Yes. I'd come visit you as Michelle.
Yeah,
How's
we can
that?
invite
And we can
everybody.
have Stephen come too, as long as you feed us.
I'll be there.
Okay, Fantasyland is done now.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm dying to know about your Sleuth Fest story because Christy and I met at Sleuth Fest in 2018, and we have a distinct fondness for the conference and, of course, for Florida's MWA chapter. And I heard you had quite a inspiration while you were there.
I have a couple Sleuth Fest stories.
Really?
One, not a story, but kind of a story. Anyway, Sleuth Fest was the very first mystery conference I ever attended. And this was back in 2006 or 7, when Michael Conley, I think, was guest.
Nice, yeah.
Robert Crace. Anyway, one of those guys. They were both there, and it was fabulous. The people were so friendly, so welcoming. I participated in one of the the first day workshops with Chris and Christy, Chris and Kelly, Christy and Kelly, got them right, Chris and Kelly, and they took my manuscript and they critiqued it, and they had so many wonderful things to say about it that it just gave me so much confidence moving forward that, you know what, I may be able to write a book.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great. And I went 2 other times, 3 in all. And one of those times, I woke up, this is a story I think Christy's talking about. I woke up at 4 a.m. on the Sunday we were leaving after the conference. 4 a.m. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had the idea of a novel completely formed in my head. It was unbelievable. It was the one over my shoulder, Pray for the Innocent.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Which, I mean, it was like, oh my goodness, what a great premise. So that Monday, I called my agent. I said, look, I just had this unbelievable idea. I want to write it. And she said, fine, just put aside what I was working on and write Pray for the Innocent. So I did, and it came out really good.
Wow.
The only drawback is now every morning when I wake up, I'm just a little bit disappointed. I don't have that blockbuster
Yeah, that is
idea.
kind of a
I
letdown
was going to
now.
say, does this happen a lot? Because that would be really cool.
I keep waiting. So 2 tips for writers: always open your inbox with the suggestion that was a great idea. or, try to think of it and wake up with the idea.
Yeah, and when you do wake up at 4 and think of it, write it down so you don't forget if you fall back asleep.
Yeah, I've done that sometimes, and usually the next morning it's like I can't read what I've written in the dark.
That's true. That's true. Got to get one of those
awesome.
apps now that we have the iPhones.
Yes.
To be like voice memo.
Like, who's this talking to me tonight?
Okay, so that is not always what happens, but what is your regular like writing schedule, like so that you get all your deadlines done? And
Yeah. Well, when I'm working on a book project, I'm sort of analyticals, and I work by the daily quota method. So I'll spend a week before I actually start writing, outlining. I'm an outliner, not a pantser. And once I get that outline done, I back it up by my deadline. So I figure out how many weeks I have to write, and I divide. Usually my books are about 80,000 words. So I'll divide it into how many words per week and then how many words per day. So maybe it's 1,200 words a day or whatever. And this is for first draft quality, which means it sucks. But you get it done, and then you go back and revise it. And then I'll sit down in the morning usually and just type until I hit my quota. Sometimes if things aren't going so great, I'll get up in the middle of the sentence if I hit my quota. Like I'll hit
Really?
right in the middle of the sentence. I'll look, I must be pretty close. I'll hit the word count thing and it'll be 1,200. I'm like, I'll finish the sentence tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
I got other stuff to do. Other stuff that's more fun than writing, which is.
Yeah. So when you say you do a week or week and a half for an outline, how in depth is your outline?
Not very. It's not like in grade school, they teach you, Roman numeral 1, capital A, little bit. Mine's more like, Joe and John sit in a coffee shop and decide what to do with the body. Now that's my outline. But when I do start, I have to know how it begins, the inciting incident, and sort of the premise, of course. And then I need to know the ending, the climax. And in my books, the crime fiction books, it's good versus evil. And I like to kind of whittle it down and pair off all the extraneous characters so that it's the bad guy versus the good guy. Now I think I play one, it's sort of more of an ensemble ending, but I think that fits more with sort of the YA, sort of the whole drama troupe approach.
Right.
So again, drama kids, from my experience watching, are just a different breed. They are just, they're so extroverted. I'm so introverted. And I'm just amazed, and they work so well together. I thought that would be a good way to do the ending.
Yeah, that's funny.
That is really cool.
Our sound editor is a filmmaker. That's his hope, or his degree was, or whatever. So we make him do all our. That's my son. So
we have an in.
Yeah. So he'll have to meet up with next time he's like deciding to film something. If your son's in town, he'll get him to play a part or something.
My son thinks that I wrote this book about him, for him. He's waiting for the movie rights to sell so he can play a part in the movie.
Oh,
so did he stay in acting? Did he continue?
He's an actor. Yeah, he lives in that. Well, right now he's in our guest bedroom. But he lives in LA. He lives in LA acting. He does a lot of improv and comedy stuff.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Both of you have children, thespian children who stayed in the business. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And speaking of business, if I ever get my book published, my son, he came up with the idea, like you said, and so he's expecting to direct it. So we'll see. All right. So what? Let's see. Where was I?
I was just saying. Speaking of business, Christy.
Oh, there you go. Yes, the business side of writing.
Yeah.
We're just wondering, since we're in these weird times of COVID, I just wonder what are some of the good and bad changes that you've noticed that has from publishing or marketing before to marketing after, and also is there a difference in how you approach marketing a YA book versus any other genre? Like,
yeah, I Know Where You Sleep came out in February of 2020. So
Mm,
Right before.
before
Yeah,
the
Wow.
COVID, the
Yeah.
COVID.
the
And
COVID.
I had actually, I was out at Left Coast Crime, which is a mystery convention. It was in San Diego on March 13th, I think.
Oh,
So we
wow.
flew all the way out there, and then we
You're lucky
had
you didn't get
panels in the
stuck
morning,
there.
and they canceled it at 5 o'clock that night, the first
Oh,
night.
wow.
So all
Oh,
these, hundreds of people had come, and now we have to all like, see ya, good luck getting home.
Wow.
So it was pretty crazy. And to support I Know Where You Sleep, I had planned to go to 5 or 6 different conferences and conventions, do a lot of in-person events, and of course, all of those got canceled. And then this year, with the supporting I Play One on TV, which came out in July, I was going to do. I did one event, Murder on the Beach, but all the conferences, I'm still waiting to. And that's part of the promotion deals. You go to the conferences,
Right.
some panels, and you sign books and stuff. So I haven't done any really as much. I mean, I haven't been able to do as much in-person stuff. I've done some Zoom events where possible, but it's just different doing Zoom,
Yeah.
I think. It's harder to connect with the readers. Like for instance, it's just different. It's
Right.
just different. So hopefully, I'm planning to go to 5 or 6 more conventions this year. Hopefully that'll happen. And I guess I'll plug these last 2 books. With regard to marketing towards YA, I haven't done it before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably a different audience, which I'm maybe not plugged into as well as I could be, should be, will be.
I wonder because, with the books, the YA books are, I mean, I would think if you're like middle grade or younger, then, you can go into schools and, do presentations, but the YA books are just a little bit edgier than most schools. So I don't know how they catch those people except when your son makes a movie with
I mean, I got some books. I got some Bookstagram stuff. Yeah, I got some Bookstagram stuff, and I got a nice review in the Sun Sentinel from Eileen Cogdell. So I mean,
that might, that's, and I bet
some
there's things
notice.
like,
who's purchasing? I mean, I'm trying to remember when my kids were in high school, they wanted to go pick out their own books. They didn't want me to pick out
Right.
books for them. And so it's interesting to think about how do you target that audience?
Right.
Well, you asked who's purchasing. I think my neighbor bought a copy. So that's one. I think I sold one book.
After today,
and I
it will
think
be
it's
wild.
also you build your audience. Like my daughter is like, she still loves all her YA books, and she'll be like, "Oh, this author came out with a new book," so I have to get it because I love all her books, even though she's in her 20s now. And I agree because I read them too. But
yeah,
yeah.
So yeah, but your larger point is valid. It's really, I find it's hard to sell books. Period. Unless you're a big name, unless you're Stephen King or James Patterson.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard,
Yeah.
especially
I was just to say, people aren't. I'm anxious for everybody to return to their libraries and their small booksellers. When you don't have somebody suggesting a book to your face, it's a different beast when people are shopping online and you don't have a bookseller saying, "Hey, I think you'd like this one," or it's just a different. Although the good news is book sales are up after the pandemic, so that's a good thing. Yeah, interesting stuff.
All right. Well, we still have one final question.
Dun, dun, dun.
That we ask all our authors.
The square root of 7.
Yes.
Exactly.
Is that right?
No. It's which of your characters would you like to share a meal with, and what would it be?
I think I'd go with Dalton. Well, there's a scene in the book where Dalton and Patch and Dalton's manager are at the IHOP. Or was it a Denny? It was an IHOP, I think, right?
I think it was an IHOP.
And I picked IHOP for a reason, because about once a year I like to go to IHOP and eat pancakes until syrup's coming out of my pores. So I think that I would,
That's really
I
good.
would choose that.
Well, there you go.
Like they have an all you
I
can
think
eat
that's the
pancake thing.
first time we've had anybody
I
choose
know.
a breakfast, and there you go.
Oh no,
You can have it
pancakes
anytime
aren't just for, yeah, they're not just for
Okay,
breakfast.
all right, sorry.
Actually, so the last time I was in IHOP, I had my two boys with me, and this wasn't that long ago. I wish I could say that, but I got a salad.
No, you did
No.
not.
And
A
let me tell you,
salad?
don't do that.
This is wrong.
I was gonna
It was
say.
so wrong. It was so wrong. I don't remember the circumstance. I think maybe they wanted to eat, and I had just eaten a big lunch or something. And I'm like, I can't eat pancakes after, fried chicken or whatever I just had for lunch. So I had a salad, and I tell you what, the salad with that blueberry syrup on top is not, it doesn't work.
Oh boy.
That is
Yeah.
just really a
That's wrong.
very
You're right.
vivid
Yeah.
picture. Okay. Alan, our listeners are going to want to know more about you and your books. How do they find out? How do they reach you?
Well, my website, alanorloff.com. I'm pretty active on Facebook, and I try to be entertaining.
Yeah, you are pretty
Pretty
entertaining.
entertaining. I'm also on Twitter, and I'm also less active on the gram, as I
On the
say.
gram.
I call it IG. I just hope that people find me and love me. I try
You're
to do
so
the best
cool.
I try to do the best I can with what I have,
Yeah,
You're
there
so
you go.
and I think I'm still on MySpace for most of it. So they can find me. I'm
All right.
and in person, I'm around.
All right. Well, that's great. Great. Well, you know
Awesome.
what? This has been fun, and I think all we have to do is say cheers now.
Cheers
And
to you, Alan.
good
Thanks
luck.
for joining us.
Thank you for
Cheers.
joining
Thank you.
us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I had a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was